The prior year was an attempt at the world record of most miles in a roundabout in 24 hours. That went super poorly, but I learned a lot.
How far did we get in that challenge?
Oh, we made it right around 200 is where I called that a day.
My gosh.
Well,
what's going on, everybody? My name is JP, and I want to welcome you into the new year and a new year on the Stable Cyclist Podcast, where we talk about bikes, life experiences, and when the occasion arises, we will deep dive into mental health. And in the year of 2026, with a growing audience, I want to get to know you better. And so each week, I'm going to throw a question out to you right at the start for you to throw into the comments, or you can email me the answer. You can find my email in the description of this episode, or you can send me a DM on Instagram at the Stable Cyclist. And every week we'll look at those questions and I'll read some off the following week, and we're gonna have a good time with this. But it's something simple, and this year we're gonna start it off with this, and that is, I wanna know what was your favorite race or adventure that you went on in 2025. Now, for me, it was Unbound. I finally got to go to Unbound. Now, granted, I was filming this year, not racing, but it was an incredible weekend. I, at one point, almost got my truck stuck at Little Egypt, and I got to hang out with one of my better friends, Logan, that I work with, and I got to meet a whole bunch of new people and new friends who I've been able to stay in touch with since then. So that was my favorite of the year. But I want to hear your favorite. And like I said, if you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, you can leave it in the comments on there. And if you're not on those platforms, you could send me an email. Like I said, that is listed in the description below, wherever you're partaking of this episode. And you could always send me a DM on Instagram as well. And next week, I'll read through a few of them. This episode of the Stable Cyclist Podcast is brought to you by Silca. Whether it was the gravel roads throughout the Midwest this past year, or the absolutely epic and rugged conditions of the Mahahe 100 this summer, I never had an issue with my chain when I was using Silca's hot wax or super secret chain wax, or in the absolute worst of conditions, the Synergetic wet lube. Pair that with the fact that I have not had a flat tire in 3 years while using the Silca tire sealant. And you put all that together, and it sounds like it's probably time that you head over to silca.cc to get some goodies to take care of your bike. As one of my good friends, Carrie, says, it is nutrition for your bike. You can use the code the Stable Cyclist Pod at checkout for 15% off your order, or you can hit the link in the description, whether you're listening or watching on YouTube. Oh, and I forgot to even mention, they do make literally the best bike pump in the world. This episode of the Stable Cyclist Podcast is also brought to you by Ignition Coach Co. Now, I have been working with Ignition coach Adam Sabin as my personal coach for the past 3 years, and it has been one of the most positive changes that I have made in anything related to bikes. To be honest, I have the knowledge and the tools and the experience to be coaching myself, but what I don't have these days is margin whatsoever in my schedule to take the time to coach myself. Having Adam check in, adjust my training, and prescribe exactly what I need each and every week allows me to just show up and do the work. And I know that I'm doing exactly what I need to. And best of all, I know that it allows me to continue to just take care of my mental health on a daily basis without having to stress about any of it. I mean, there's truly no more proof that I can give you greater than the fact that Adam helped me cut an hour and a half off of my finish time from the previous best that I had at the Mahahe 100 this past year. So if you're looking for structured and thoughtful coaching that fits into your life, you should head over to ignitioncoachco.com and hit the Start Now button to begin your journey. All right, one more thing. The first episode of every month is always one of my friends that I've gotten to know through the film world. And these are people whose stories were not being told. And last year after Gravel Worlds, I had spent a lot of time standing in a very muddy ditch with a number of them. And I just thought, hey, I would like to talk to a lot of these people and share their stories and just get to know them. So at the beginning of each month, we will have a guest from the world that I mainly work in, and that is people like Tilly Shull or Brett Rothmeyer, who's Keegan Swenson's photographer. We're in the end of the year last year. We had them, as well as Danny Wong, who was Cam Jones' main videographer. And we start things off today with Richard Poole. And this is a really interesting episode, to say the least. And spoiler alert, there's kind of a big reveal about something Richard and I are working on this year. So let's get Richard into the studio. Well, Richard Poole, better known by most in the bicycle world as Crumbs or Bicycle Crumbs, welcome to the Stable Cyclist Podcast, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is part of our ongoing first interview of the month on the podcast is a media person. And, you know, we started things off, I think, with Tilly and then Brett Rothmeyer and Danny. And you get us kicked off here in the new year. And I guess there's a lot of questions I have of how we get to where we are. One of my memories is seeing you at Unbound this past year in like the white jumpsuit club of like Bobby and Tilly and a bunch of other people. But yeah, like how do we get into photography, man? How do we get, I guess, started there?
Oof. Yeah, that's an odd question for me specifically. You know, I don't even know how to start on this one. Like, we should probably back up like 4 full steps here. Is like some people like you know me as a photographer on like the Lifetime GP circuit and the gravel circuit. But in reality, my day job is being the marketing director at Silca. We can dive into that later. Yeah. But the photo side really came from my previous job for the prior 10 years before joining Silca. I was the creative director for a custom bike brand called Speedvagen. And the photo side all came out of having to learn how to shoot those bikes in a way that would make them sell. So, you know, I feel like I learned everything I know on an 85mm prime lens. So everything I shoot kind of looks like that. Love some shallow depth of field. But, you know, having those skills, and I'm entirely self-taught there, you know. Yeah. I just picked up what John Watson was doing at the Radavist, how he shot bikes. And then we also worked with a photographer named Bob Huff out of Portland, because that's where that was, who really kind of showed me the ropes, like guided me towards the first camera I bought and the first lens being that 85mm prime, to really like emulate his shots on a lower budget level. Yeah.
Well, if there's one person to emulate yourself after, I mean, there are literally YouTube videos of the man you mentioned from the Radavist of like how to shoot a bicycle. Yeah. And they're like not kind of viewed, they're like very highly viewed, and even how their shot is really incredible. So you're shooting, and we will get into the Silca stuff because there's some funny stories there about how we actually met, not through photography, but through Silca, but we'll get there eventually. How do we transition from you're shooting product stuff basically for websites and for advertisements to your races shooting racers? Because that is like going to another planet almost.
Yeah. Also kind of a weird story is like, since, you know, I had that skill set in the bag of being able to shoot a decent photo when I joined Silca, you know, we were left with the options of, okay, we can hire out all our photo work, perfectly good option, or I'm going to be there anyway for the event side. I can just figure out how to start actually shooting the events, which is the route we went.
Sure.
You know, and I was lucky enough that I have some good friends in this industry from being in the gravel side for a while. Like, I first raced Unbound in 2014. So I've been here for a minute. I've seen the ropes. I've dealt with people. I've done Mid-South every single way you could possibly ride that race. So really the shooting events kind of came about through that. And Bobby Wintle was my first driver at Unbound 2 years ago. And I mean, you can't ask for a better driver than Bobby Wintle. Yes, slightly terrifying, but you know, he's in this world and he cares so deeply about it. And it really it really makes you try harder to produce a good image while with him. It's just fun. Like, I can't say it any other way. My job at events is super fun.
100%. What is it like shooting an event with Bobby? Does he have a camera in his hand too, or like is he just like there as the chauffeur wildly driving?
So the first year we had a side-by-side that was like on 38-inch tires, like just something absolutely insane that, you know, I think we hit 85 miles per hour going up Divide Road. Like, shouldn't be possible. But the other half of that is navigating those races and trying to figure out, you know, exactly how many stops you can get on Unbound. And, you know, as a first experience, me and Bobby managed to hit, I think, 14 or 15 locations in the first year of shooting Unbound together. Like, that's more than most people get to. Yeah. And partly because of the vehicle, partly because Bobby knows that race in and out because he's been in this world for just so long. So, I mean, I guess to answer your question, yes, Bobby does have a camera in his hand to start. Most of the time he's driving, navigating. I have a phone too, like keeping up with where they are. At a certain point, Bobby gets too stoked and the camera kind of disappears and he's just like doing Bobby out there. But honestly, it makes it better, and some of the best images come out of having his presence around because everyone in the gravel world knows Bobby, and they get stoked to see him no matter where you are on the course. Yeah.
There is a very epic picture from that first year, I believe, that like maybe the racers aren't like so stoked on, but all of us in the media world look at, and I think it's you and him airborne in that side-by-side. And it's people just need to go on a scavenger hunt to find this picture because it is amazing.
Yeah, there's a couple shots from that. I can't remember that guy's name, but he shoots, like, he's from Maine, and he was like, we saw him on course, and we both just locked lenses on each other in that moment. So we got both sides of that photo, which is hilarious. Yeah, I mean, you know, and then the following year, it was me, Bobby, and Dan Hughes. So even more talent and navigation capabilities because quite literally no one knows that course like Dan. And to have him on, like, you know, I learned all of the lessons of how to shoot with what I would consider you guys, the pros, not me. Yeah. I just kind of interjected myself into this world and made it work. But I have learned a lot from all of you, and especially that year with Dan, like, you know, just setting up different shots because it does work that we're all kind of corralled into similar locations a lot of the time. And if we don't honestly start thinking about how we compose that shot, we're all getting the same shot, and no one wants that. So a lot of just fun live lessons and, you know, hearing Dan talk and tell stories throughout Unbound is honestly one of the best experiences you can have if you're a fan of gravel. I mean, he's won it 4 or 5 times. Like, he knows it in and out. So having his stories from when he raced it, as well as, you know, sharing shots and showing each other what we got while on course was honestly another great day. I'd put those 2 days of Unbound shooting as like my favorite days in this industry by far.
Yeah. That's very easy to believe given just who you were with and where you were. Can we talk a little bit about, you said there gets to be these situations where there might be 10 or 12 of us all in the same spot, and how we I feel like in general, everybody gets along really well when we're all out there trying to shoot, from what I've experienced at least. How in your head are you thinking about, there's all these people in the same spot, how do I get a different looking shot also without these people in the shot?
Yeah, I have one camera body on me, and I carry multiple lenses, which makes it a little challenging. If I know there's a bunch of people at that spot, I'm getting the longest lens I have, and I'm trying to either climb or just get away from everybody else. Sometimes the shots are similar, but, nothing's kind of guaranteed here, and sometimes I'll miss the shot and I'll reach out to Tilly and be like, hey, I know you were at a similar space. Do you have this shot? Because I missed it. And that happens more probably for me than the other people, but, it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that you kind of came into this as an outsider and had to work your way in. I would, regardless of my background, I still wasn't a known commodity this past year when I entered the space. And so like I said, there was a little bit at Unbound, I didn't know anybody. And I'm looking at like, oh, there's like a white jumpsuit crew and there's like these people over here. Like, how did you come into that space, like on more personal level, and try and navigate it? Because so much of the time, whether we're an artist or whether we're a creator or just entering a new job, you step in and there's like social circles that you don't quite know how to navigate, and you're trying to prove yourself. How did that go for you?
Honestly, that was probably where I had a leg up with, racing in this world the prior 10 years and being involved in these communities. Like, I don't even remember the first time I met Bobby, but like, he's just one of those people that you're instantly best friends with. And that's kind of how it all happened. And I think I just showed up at at Mid-South one year and raced it at Speedvagen. And like from the moment me and Bobby met, we were just partying together. We have similar vibes, but very different approaches to those vibes. He is very outgoing. I'm very not. But like he helped me kind of bridge those gaps too. Like he's how I met Tilly and Rhett and pretty much everyone else that same day because, Bobby's on course. We pass the photographers, they yell at Bobby, and then it's like a quick introduction, and then you start knowing who everybody is. And in all reality, there's 15 to 20 of us that honestly are at every single one of them. So it's a small world, and once you meet people, you're not going to forget them because we're all doing the same thing. So, and we all have clearly the same jobs and hobbies in common. So it makes it like a really easy world to communicate with people. Like,
for sure.
If this was like me going to a marketing conference, I don't know if that's a thing. Like, I'm not going to know how to talk to those people. I know how to talk to these people.
Yeah.
And it is those shared interests that does it.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So you were at Speedvagen for 10 years, like you said. What makes you make the move over to Silca?
That's a deep-rooted question on some touchy subjects. We won't get into the drama of all of it.
It's your interview, so you can share what you'd like.
So I was the creative director there for that vast majority of times, and my job was, whatever marketing we were doing, and then on top of that, designing the paint schemes and whatever accessories that went with those bikes, but not physically putting the paint on the bikes. We had two amazing painters doing all of that who always made me look way better at my job than I could have ever imagined. So that's what I was doing there. That was a very Portland business in the way I could best describe it was like it operated on vibes and not necessarily the math of a business, which for someone as an employee, that's a good spot to be as long as someone's thinking of the math and making sure the business is functioning properly. And it worked that way for plenty of years. COVID's kind of what was the final straw for that business model. And, you couldn't operate on vibes through COVID, even though we tried as hard as we could. And like at that point, I left Speedvagen, made a post on my Instagram, and within a couple days, Josh called me and said, "Hey, I think I have a spot for you. Would you be willing to come check out Silca?" We use Silca products. We painted pumps. We did all of that. I was super familiar with that product line. And I've known Josh since 2014. 2015 when he relaunched the brand out of the United States. We did a collaboration at NABS Sacramento that year on some artwork. I guess we haven't even dug into that side yet, but my technical degree is in illustration. I am a designer, not a photographer, not a marketing person by any means. Yeah. I went to school thinking I was going to be a watercolor illustrator.
Of course, yes.
Very, very quickly pivoted out of that with a need for money. Not many pure watercolor illustrators out there anymore. But Josh called me up, and I flew out here and was really impressed by, one, the fact his approach is very analytical. It is very much, this business is not operated on vibes. It's operated on cold, hard math. And I needed that. At that moment, I think I freelanced after leaving that job as an illustrator designer for 2, 3, 4 months, and very quickly realized, with kids, that's not the world I necessarily want to live in. I'm a stability person. I need some assurance things are going to get paid on time. I came out to Indianapolis, did the interview, super impressed with what's happening in Silca, and ultimately signed up and moved here a few months later.
Amazing. And were you straight into the position you currently do then, or did that happen later?
Straight into this position. I'll say that marketing in cycling specific small companies kind of is an all-encompassing term. For a lot of brands, the marketing person is also doing the social media, shooting the photos, designing the packaging. It's a one-stop term for everything you need to do, along with creating the ideas and directing that path in which the company is going to go on the marketing side. Luckily, as a creative, I follow my gut a lot and have lucked into being right a lot, and it's worked out pretty well for me. And, I guess getting into the social media side of this, it's how I grew my social media. That's how I got my first job in cycling.
Yeah.
Just putting out kind of some wackier ideas that have resonated with people in this industry, and it tends to work. Just not approaching everything by the same old standard of what everyone else is doing. I always just say, if it's not memorable, we're not doing it. There's no point in doing another athlete activation where someone gets like a high five. They're not going to remember that high five 10 years from now. So why waste all of our time?
Yeah. So it's around this time that you and I actually meet for the first time. And so this must have been mid 2023, or were you there before Michelle left?
I came out after she was gone. So it was I started from Portland October of 2023, and then was full on at all of the 2024 events, either traveling from Portland, or I moved out here in, I think, maybe July, August of 2024.
Okay. That makes sense. So just to fill in some backstory for folks, my relationship, Silca is near and dear to me for a lot of reasons, but one of them is that the person that was here before Richard was named Michelle, and when I was starting all the mental health advocacy, I had like 0 subscribers on YouTube. I had like 200 followers on Instagram, and I pitched my vision of what this was all going to be in mental health advocacy in the bike world. And Michelle was like, yeah, we're here. We're going to support that. And so, and then like shortly after that relationship started, I had my bad accident, and Michelle transitioned out at the same time. And so there was this time period where Phil, who some people know, Phil kind of helped like carry things along for me. And then it just meant the world to me that when I was still in 2024, you were on board then fully. I was not fully healed yet. I had not been cleared to do anything, but I was still doing all the other advocacy stuff. And you were like, yeah, we're going to keep supporting you. And that led into this year where we were really in a big push for the film. But there's been a relationship there there's now a relationship much further beyond that I think as we get further into the year, I'll explain more to folks. And for now, we can just keep it under wraps. But what you guys are doing and how you have approached things, it is different, but it is like super meaningful. And so many lives through what I'm doing are being affected because Silca got on board early, and they have continued even when it didn't seem like there was a lot of light for what I was doing based on health stuff. So, yeah, man.
Yeah. You know, I never met Michelle, but like, you know, we had relationships in place with you and some other athletes that are like historic to the brand. Like Dylan Johnson was our first athlete, Alexi. So I inherited kind of some great people to really start to form those relationships. And that's how I approach every single athlete that we want to work with. It is like, let's see how we can build this relationship. Let's see if we work well together, because that's kind of the special sauce you need to make any of these athletes deals or media deals or, you know, anything work. Is, you know, you got to start those relationships. You got to have honest conversations, and you got to figure out like what do we both get or want out of this? You know, so I inherited you. My favorite story about this is when you reached out, you just needed some like minor wax bags for some promotion. And I placed that order. And when we do that, like, you know, it has one of those classic kind of web forms where you can either hit the up box or the down box to add more quantity on the product. But I use an Apple Magic Mouse. It's like my favorite tool on earth out of all design tools. We can dig deeper into that later because it has the 4-way scrollings. And when I entered your order, I must have just scrolled on that field and sent you something like 90 bags of wax. And then, you know, at that point I was like, no, just make good use of those. Get those out in the street. Do your thing. If you want to raffle some off, do whatever you can with those. Like, you know, just one of those funny things that kind of maybe is honestly the spark of all of this. And if we do want to announce what we're doing next year, I feel like that's totally fine to do if you're ready for it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I'll just say that like you said, this is all relationships, right? And I've built a relationship with one of your athletes, Chase, that's real strong. I have also built my relationship with you guys. You and I spent a lot of time standing in ditches in Nebraska this past August. And then I very specifically remember like an hour or an hour and a half sitting at a table in like the horse pavilion in Lincoln, Nebraska. And that was the first time where I really got to like, we're both dog tired, we're both working, but we're working together, and there's like really good energy. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, but like for creators, when you can work in a setting where everybody's clapped and you're still getting along and like finding ways to make this all work collaboratively, it's like this is something. So you reached out at some point, and I'm going to be doing some documentary style work for Silca in the coming year. I'm really excited about it, and we've been we being Richard and I have been slowly cooking on some stories that we've got in the works that we are going to go chase, and they'll be kind of similar to the same vein as what I do with Chase. I'm still working for Chase as well, but this is a new opportunity that I'm really excited about. And again, it's all formed in relationships. And like, to pull the curtain back, I batch my podcast episodes. And so I interviewed 2 other athletes earlier today that potentially are going to end up in stuff we're working on. And again, it's relationship building and story building and trust building. So I'm really excited for what we have going on. And I don't know what you want to add to that, but.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, some inside baseball on how cycling sponsorships work and all of that. You know, the Silca program, I like to think, is unique in that we put out equal pay across the men's and women's side, and we have equal numbers of spots, really trying to do our part of the job to make equality across that pay gap way more even than it's ever been. So, you know, our top male athlete will make the same as our top woman athlete. Our lowest paid, and that's not a fair term to really call a person, our lowest paid athlete will make the same on both sides of that too. And, you know, part of the video idea comes back down to that is we see a lot of gravel stories in video work, And for almost all of the ones I can really think of, people are investing in the men. Like there's not as much content being put out with the women. Same with what we do for the wind tunnel. It's always all men. We're trying to reverse that and get women in the tunnel, start testing there, make them faster. And that's kind of the entire Silca approach to athletes is it's not necessarily what we get or who wins what. It's, I plant the seed very early that it is ask us if you need help with anything. I'm sure we have an expert in this building that can help you. Josh was the lead engineer at Zip for all of his time before he came to Silca, has the second most wind tunnel time in the world of cycling. So, if you want to optimize, Silca can help you do that. If you are a new privateer and you don't have any photos, that's why I'm at those races, is so those new people entering the races that are working with us, I set up drive folders of every athlete we get, send those over after each race. I've never once charged an athlete for a photo. I don't plan on it. It is part of being part of Silca is, us returning and trying to provide more value, especially because as a small brand, we can't really compete with billion-dollar budgets of any of the major brands. So we have to do it in unique ways and try and really figure out, how can we tell stories differently that really connect to people? And that's honestly where we thought of you is, your filmmaking is just top notch. Like you shoot beautiful stuff. You have great production quality. It's all great. So it was an easy collaboration on our end. I was just stoked you were able to carve out the time to make it work.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and the one thing that made me really especially excited is like you were like, we don't need commercials, we need stories to be told, and we'll find ways, as I did in the Chase series last year, to work stuff in as it needed to be naturally there. So that's like the freedom pass as the creator. So that's super exciting. Let's talk about, I think you have a running shoe addiction, or maybe a shoe addiction.
It's a shoe problem. The shoe problem. God, it's crazy how many of these stories kind of come back to Bobby for no reason.
Well, he's a lightning rod individual, so it's understandable.
Yeah, so I guess at at Unbound 2025, Bobby randomly agreed to run the Mid-South double with me because he's never run his 50K, like physically ran it. He runs the show, but he's never done that event. And, he's one of those people that's like, hell yeah, I'm in for anything. So, I needed a kick in the ass. Indianapolis, while I love the Silca job, isn't necessarily the great place to ride a bike.
Sure.
And then especially all through the winter, I basically drank beer and watched basketball. And I was like, oh, I need something hard on my calendar. Because like that's just always the way I've approached bikes is I want to do at least one really hard thing each year. And it turned out the Mid-South double is the thing for 2026. So that all started... That's where it all started and why I started running this year. I've never ran a day in my life until now, and I'm 39, about to do a 50K in March with Bobby, and we'll see how that goes.
Fair. As you will be in Stillwater, Oklahoma, will you be 40 and a man, as former Oklahoma State head coach would say, by the time this race starts? I actually turned 40 like 2 weeks after that. Ooh, okay. It'll be touch and go then. I got it. Okay. Yeah. Some people might call this a midlife crisis, sure. But I just think like if you are kind of a general public cyclist, and it's hard because, we are surrounded by pros all the time. Yeah. I think my way is a good way to approach it. Just put one hard thing on the calendar, focus on that, and just see how it goes. Sure, yeah. The prior year was an attempt at the world record of most miles in a roundabout in 24 hours.
that went super poorly, but I learned a lot.
How far did we get in that challenge?
Oh, we made it right around 200 is where I called that a day.
My gosh.
Well, yeah, like, so this world record, putting this out there to all cyclists, is pretty achievable if you find a decently sized roundabout. I'm pretty sure it's like 370 miles total in that 24-hour period. So it's not outrageous. And, we did that first 100 in like 5 hours. And I was like, oh, like, we got this.
We got this, yeah.
But that roundabout will lull you to sleep, and you will not remember to eat or drink anything because it is dead flat and you can just cruise at 20 the whole time. So yeah, I rapidly fell apart after that first 100 because didn't really eat or drink anything, just kind of went into it. But yeah.
Is this documented somewhere?
It's on my Instagram. It's a few other places. Like, it was a pure failure. So like, I think we'll take another stab at this at some point, but probably not
Lord.
Next year. Yeah, I've talked about doing it with Chase because he would be in.
Of course you have.
Yeah. Or, some other of those fun times where we made up a game around the Taco Bell Century, which had been done before. People have done Taco Bell Centuries. But we added some rules to this where you can't carry anything. Every bit of nutrition, including water, has to come from Taco Bell. You get a time bonus for every Taco Bell you stop at and eat, and you cannot repeat items. So you can't carry water bottles. Yeah. So we started a game of that. That really took off, and there's been, at least 20 other attempts and successful record breakings of that since we started it. Like 4 times a year, I'll get tagged in someone doing this now, and then our record's shattered. And I think with stoppage time, ours was 11 Taco Bells and something like 6 hours of ride time. And I think it's down like below the 5s at the moment.
Wow.
This is another one that I try and push on any of our athletes that'll take this one up, because I'm pretty sure we can get Taco Bell's support behind it again. Yeah. I don't even remember what your question was. But
it's all good. We started asking about a shoe addiction, and this is where we've landed, and I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah. I think part of that kind of comes back to I've had a lot of different jobs in this industry. My Instagram started as me doing product reviews through illustration. The Bicycle Crumbs name, that was all I did. And I was so early to Instagram that I was one of the few illustrators that actually was on there. So it took off super quickly. I went from 0 to 25,000 followers within that first year. Haven't grown an inch since, but like that really took off, and that ingrained into me like being a true gear dork and talking about the gear in ways that I could feel relatable, because at that moment that was like all the cycling marketing terms meant nothing to really anyone. The vertically stiff and laterally compliant and whatever else was going on at that time. So I just wanted to make drawings of things I cared about. And the idea was, if I'm investing the time to draw the thing, I clearly care about it because I'm not getting paid to do this.
Yeah.
So it just really sent me down a rabbit hole of deeply thinking about gear and all of that. And then once you start running, it's the same thing all over again. And I think I've come to realize like hobbies will kind of come and go in your life. But, if you find that thing you love, and as consumerism as it is, I love gear. I love stuff. I like figuring out how things work. Like, I like feeling the difference between tires or rims or handlebars. Yeah. And then I also like figuring out, does this running shoe work for my body type? As generally a larger than normal cyclist, and especially a larger than normal runner, things don't work the same as, if your bike was designed for a 140-pound dude, it's not going to ride the same for me as a 200-pound dude. Like, that's not going to work. And running shoes is the same way. So that really sent me down the path of like, I'm going to get what I can get, and I'm going to talk about them all, figure out what works. And hopefully if, there's one other person out there listening to me about my opinions on that of a similar body type, if I can point them in the right way and not on the stuff that doesn't work, that's a win. So
yeah,
it just all comes down to that. I love gear. I love cameras. I love bikes. I love shoes.
Now, all true things about my own life as well. So you're speaking my language here. Okay. Go ahead.
I don't think you get into where we are without some sort of connection to gear. I don't think you become a pro cyclist without some sort of really deep connection to the stuff you're using and figuring out what makes your day faster, better, more comfortable. It's just part of the process, and it's kind of one of the parts I really love the most.
100%. Okay, it's time for some random fire questions here. It's not rapid fire because we're going to get stuck on some of these for a little bit, but it's definitely all over the place. And I'll start now. If you were a pro, I'd ask you the gas station question, but that's not what we ask the media heads. We're going to talk about the snake meal because many times you'll know what you've just never identified it as the snake meal.
Okay.
And maybe Bobby and you fly a little higher than this, but let's say on Unbound Day, our day probably starts, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. Okay. And for me, I do not have time at 3 in the morning to even eat a bowl of cereal if I wanted to, because the camera turns on and I start filming. Yep. And I'm filming Chase and Drew and whoever's in the house. And then we go straight to the start line, and probably the only window I really have to eat is right after the start as we're driving somewhere. So then I might hammer a coffee and a protein bar or something. But I'm probably not going to eat until the end of the day, once the dust has settled and everything. So at that point, we're going to have a snake meal. And a snake meal is when they bring the pig into the zoo and throw it to the anaconda, and then he can't move because he hasn't eaten in a month, and now he's not going to eat for a month. And so for me, it's usually we're going to go to a Mexican restaurant and I'm going to eat way more than I should, given how little I've eaten all day. And then I'm going to uncomfortably walk back to wherever I am. So what is the Bicycle Crumbs snake meal on race day?
Let's rewind 1 second too here. I'm the same as you, but for a little bit different reason. Okay. I cannot eat in the morning, especially when it's 3 a.m. or 4, which is Leadville. That's Unbound. That's Gravel Worlds is a little bit later, but not much. If I eat at that time, that is a surefire recipe for diarrhea, which I do not want at Unbound, Mid-South, or Gravel Worlds. So I physically do not eat or consume anything but water on those days until after that race is done. And then that is always one. As a vegetarian, some of these options are pretty challenging in towns like Emporia, Kansas.
Sure.
But typically I can find it is always a burrito spot because they always have an option where I can just be just give me all of the black beans and lettuce in there, cover it in a cheese sauce, and then add some hot sauce on top of that. So it's always a Mexican, and it's always followed up by those are 2-3 beer nights, every single one of them.
Sure.
The party after the gravel races is probably what my true snake meal is that's the nourishment of hey, we did the thing, now we get to celebrate. Look at all these shots I got around beers. That's kind of the best part.
So when you're out running, or if you're on your bicycle, are you listening to music?
Ooh, I have terrible taste in music, and I don't even think it's subjective.
This is what everybody says. They're like, my music tastes are all, and no, it's just normal. You probably got normal taste in music. So go ahead.
I think we all get stuck in that world of probably whatever you were listening to from your junior year in high school until you graduate 100%. College is exactly where your musical tastes stop, and you don't really grow past that. So for me, that is I love the early 2000s to mid 2000s pop punk. You know, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, Cute is what we aim for. It is all just like shitty pop punk music, but it's all because of that. Yeah, like I'm wearing a Good Hangs. If you've never heard of Good Hangs, they are basically you and me from that era, but now starting a pop punk band. So it sounds exactly like all of that music, but it's coming out today. It's honestly fantastic.
Yeah.
But like I'll also get into weird stuff. Like I love some classic country. There's really nothing I hate, but I tend just to use the Spotify robot to shuffle stuff, and that is an awful robot in that it only serves you stuff you've already listened to, so it's really hard to break that trap.
Yes.
But yeah, like my musical tastes are probably pretty similar to Keegan's musical taste, and anything you've seen in his reels is probably...
Based on what you were describing, I'm like, this sounds like Keegan and Finsty maybe, so...
Yeah, except I don't like Blink-182 for kind of a similar reason as that. Is like, I just imagine them as, how old are they? Like 48-year-old guys. Yeah. But they're professionally have to still sing about high school. And like, they never get to move on from that. So like, it's just like, I can't. It's like if an actor's too famous and they're in multiple movies and they're just stuck in my head as that same actor, whoever they were. Like, you can't be two characters at once, and it feels like they're trying to play that. Like, nah, you're just old guys now singing about high school, and move on, bud.
Yeah. No, for sure. Okay, fair enough. If you could only pick one banger song to listen to, we're kind of building a playlist here for the listeners.
Oh.
What's your one go-to song?
So... One, I'm going to have to actually look up song titles again because I grew up in the age of burnt CDs and no screens on my cars or anything. I don't know a single song title. I don't. I only know like the band and what's on that. I don't know if I can even answer this. Like, this is a true stumper for me, but I'll think about it. I'll look through my playlist and I'll find one. I'm curious what some other people's answers were. Like, what was Tilly's answer?
Ooh, that's it's a rap song. Bar Breaker, I think.
Wow, not even a song by her husband?
Exactly. It's a rap song.
Huh.
And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Sorry for calling you out, Tilly.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. Brett was something from Oasis. And then same with, I think Danny said the same thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it might be something weird singer-songwriter 70s era. There's this guy named Andrew Gold. He is most famous because he wrote the Golden Girls theme song. But he has like 11 other albums that are like similar vibes to that, like all just soft rock greatness from the 70s. It might be something like that. Like it is wide and it is vast, and you know, if you put shuffle on my Spotify, it is embarrassing and there's no way around it.
Yeah, well, I think that's a lot of us, so.
You will get hit with some Boys to Men, and then you'll get hit with Reba McEntire, and then you will get hit with something completely different.
Yeah, I don't think there's wrong with anything that you just said, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's just not like technically good music.
Fair. All right. You and I spend a lot of time around the starting line at races. And, you know, Holy Spirit of Gravel and I kind of refer to these as the gathering songs that get played in the lead up to. And like kind of like she always jokes that the gravel dads just hear the music and they just like come like zombies to the starting line. You and I have a job to do, so we're not being drawn like that. But do you feel there is a most overplayed song at the start line of these races?
I can only say that this year at Big Sugar, I think, is the only time it's ever caught me off guard in like why are you playing that? Like typically it is like the Jock Jams mix CD of the 90s. Like that's getting played. But Big Sugar was something weird. Like I don't even know what it was, but I was like, what the hell is happening right now? And the vibes were off already. Like no one knew what they were doing. Like 20 minutes before the race, I had like 3 pro athletes come up to me like, do you know what course we're doing? Because like I always get there super early. And I was like, no, I have no idea what you're doing. They haven't told us anything. So vibes were off. People were panicking. And I feel like just some weird country song came on that like lowered them even more. But God, I might go look through my camera just to see if I have any video from that start line to see what it was. Because it was strange.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Speaking of Holy Spirit of Gravel, let's say in a fictitious world that she and I host an activation at Unbound that is a gravel karaoke night.
Ooh.
In a fictitious world. Let's say, what are you going to sing when you come to said fictitious party?
Oh, easy. Seal, Kiss from a Rose.
Fantastic.
Yeah, all day.
Fantastic. See, this is the best part is I have been asking the karaoke question since I had Holy Spirit on back in like September, and people will struggle, as you just did, naming like what song they want to hear or something. If I ask this song, it comes out of a holster for almost everybody.
Yeah, I think there's something just about that sweet spot of knowing your vocal range, really.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like a lot of people understand the MO of what that kind of song needs to be. Like, it needs to involve the crowd. It needs to make them either cheer for you or sing along or both. And I feel like what you just named would absolutely check those boxes.
100%.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that song.
Yeah. Okay. Moving away from music, are you into Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings?
Harry Potter for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so funny story there. 2015 Unbound, the real year of the mud. I know people like to complain about 2 years ago, but that was nothing compared to 2015. No. I was at whatever shitty Motel 6 in Emporia that year, and it started raining that night before. And there was a Harry Potter movie marathon on, and I was like, fuck the race. I'm just going to sit here and just watch Harry Potter the whole next day. I didn't, but then I eventually made a shirt that I think just said, I'd rather be watching Harry Potter. It's Harry Potter all day.
Okay, well, then there's a follow-up sub-question, and that is, what house do you believe you would get sorted to based on your personality?
Oh, no chance I'm a Hufflepuff.
Nope.
Yeah. Probably a Ravenclaw. I don't like.
Okay.
I feel like everyone's wants to be Harry Potter, but I know I'm not that. Like
everybody is not Harry Potter. They should not. I don't understand why they all put themselves in that situation.
Yeah, like I'm not a Gryffindor. I'm probably just annoying enough to be a Slytherin too. Like I don't know, toss up there. I just feel like no one knows shit about the Ravenclaw people, and like I fit in there.
Okay. I mean, I would have accepted if you said Slytherin. I feel like that's one of the reasons we get along the way we do and look at the world the way we do. So.
Oh, is that your house?
It is, yeah. That's why I'm both drinking out of my Slytherin coffee cup and also have the Slytherin mascot right there behind me. So, yeah. A lot of misunderstanding about what Slytherin is and isn't, but thanks to Draco Malfoy.
Yeah.
So.
Just one bad apple is what they say.
Yep, exactly. So, okay. Let's see here. When you are riding your bike, do you like to ride by yourself or with a group?
Ooh, I am historically I do not ride with more than 3 people, period. Unless it is at a race or event, that is the only time I'll ever be in more than a group of 3. I just like to do my own thing too much. Like, if there's some interesting road that looks real awful that way and the route says to go the other way, I'm probably going to go check out that road first. And it doesn't mix well with a lot of people.
Yep.
I'm also a hard one to ride with, and I know that. Like, I feel like everyone has a group of friends where, like, someone's, like, the snack person where, like, you know, someone always has the snacks, and I'm the one that's like, nope, don't have anything here. I just came in, like, just doing whatever this wacky thing we're doing is, unprepared totally. So you need to always have that balance of that person that can, like, read your moods. And when I start bonking or getting shitty, like, I need to have that person that can lift me up, and I do not want to be in that situation with more than 3 people because someone and I are just gonna not get along.
Fair. That's fair. Okay. The next question is the bell or yell question. If you are riding and you come up behind someone on a bike path, or perhaps you're mountain biking, and you come up behind someone, do you ring a bell or do you yell at them to move over?
I have no bells on any bikes, so I will yell. Caveat, if you are a runner with headphones on too loud that you look like a drunk baby running down the path, I won't say shit and just scare you. Like, you get one loud yell from me. If you don't hear that, that's on you. You should be better at policing your own volumes.
Fair. Okay. So these next 2 kind of are described as the Silca questions. One is, when you have an event coming up on the bicycle, what are 2 things you're for sure checking on your bike the night before?
Oh, I'd be prepared before that. Like, I also notoriously, even though I'm the one that doesn't bring the snacks, I hate an awful plan. If your plan's not good, I don't want to participate in what we're doing, period. So, you know, I will have nothing to check the night before. I would have done it 5 days before that, and it will be good to go.
Fair.
You know, so, like, the literal answer to that will be tire pressure. Like, that one just always makes sense. You have to check that. But, like, the 5 days before that, you got to check your sealant, and you got to be on a freshly waxed chain. Like, but again, I would do that ahead of time, kind of that week of an event. I'm not doing much serious riding, so I'll probably put 30, 40 miles max on that chain, so it'll be fine for whatever event. But those are the 2. Sealant and fresh wax is how you get through days.
Do you have anything on your bicycles that are historically neglected? That you know you should be taking better care of and you just don't?
Yes, but I think I'm going to throw you a curveball here.
Okay.
I think I have 3 complete bikes that are in the build process. Like, from frame sets up that I've had all for 2 years now. They're all missing one part, and I cannot bring myself to find that part that I need. So I have a rigid mountain bike that is just missing a crankset, and then it would be done. That is all it's missing, and it's been like that for 2 years.
It's a nice strider right now.
Yep. Can't bring myself to finish it. I have a new gravel bike where I have had the SRAM Red Group, the wheels, the entire bike for a year and a half. Haven't put it together. And then I have a vintage Cannondale with the SRAM Red, the yellow version of it when they did that at the Tour de France, the 10-speed version. I have that, and honestly, I think that one just needs cables ran, and I can't do it. So yeah, those 3 things is, I can get 99% through a project most of the time, but sometimes that last 1% is really the hardest.
Fantastic. Okay. Tell me about a race that you've been to, either as media or a competitor, that everybody needs to get to in their lifetime.
Oh, Mid-South, number 1. we mentioned this earlier, but I have done Mid-South single speed. I've done it geared. I've done it single speed 650B. I've done it. Name the variety of bike I've done Mid-South on it, but that event is just fun. The vibes are right. You have a perfect mix of crowd where you have the super fast people if you're on that performance side of this world. And then you also just have the people that are wearing their street clothes out there doing the full thing too.
Yes.
And I'm typically somewhere in the middle of those depending on fitness. If I'm out of shape, I'm a street clothes guy. If I'm in shape, I will be in a kit. So that one's number one. Being in this world so far before it became this world, like El Monzo up in Minnesota was a fantastic event that no longer exists anymore. Really along the same lines of Mid-South, where Chris Scogan, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He really kind of was there with Bobby at that same time, being that ringleader of the gravel cause. Like, he would give everyone high fives after the race. Bobby does his hugs. Like, they were both doing similar things, just a few 100 miles apart in different states. But in those early days, like, everyone would go and camp for El Monzo. And like, that's the first time I heard of Mid-South was there. Everyone's like, oh, if you're doing this, you should go check out Mid-South. And that's how I got connected to that race. And then there's a few other ones, like Unbound is my favorite race by far. I know people think it's like overrated because it's the big one, but
no, it's not.
I grew up 20 minutes north of Unbound in Osage City, Kansas. So I've played around on those gravel roads throughout high school, typically in a car doing silly shit. But, I know that area. I know how special the Flint Hills are. They are my favorite place on earth to ride a bike. I would say Unbound isn't my favorite bike ride to do, but to get out there on course and ride some of those sections are my favorite places. Like, Unbound's a big day regardless, and sometimes that's no fun. And then I guess there was another one called Maisie's Pride that was up in Eskridge. It was a 3-lap circuit race that was going up Divide Road. That was the start of the race, and I think each lap was 20 miles of it, of just like the gnarliest Eskridge roads you could find. Absolutely brutal race, and it was so small. It probably had like 200 participants, and I think it was only around for 5 or 6 years, but like mile for mile, the hardest gravel race I have ever done, especially at being 60-ish miles.
Well, and you were probably all riding like 32s at the time for tire
I was on a Canty Brake Crux with
of course,
standard road gearing on it. So I think at that time, it was the year the WTB Nano got released as a 40 as the first gravel tire.
Of course.
So it was before that. So, once that tire came out, that's all everyone ran for that next year. And then gravel tires really took off.
Yeah. Crazy. What's a race you have not been to that you want to get to?
I'm going to take a minor shot at Lifetime and do the opposite here. Schwamigan, get that out of the GP. No one wants to go there. For real. Like, it's not good for the brands. I know all the athletes don't really love it. Like, there's so many better races than that one, in my opinion. It just has that local lore to it that unless you're part of that, you will never understand it. So to answer your question oppositely, I would not go to that one. I guess what was the base question? I already forgot.
Where have you not been that you want to go to?
Man, I think throughout my history, I've been to kind of all the majors. Traca in Spain would be the one. It seems like the Unbound of their side of things. It looks really interesting. I think it would just be completely different than anything I've done. And I'm not even talking to race that one, to just shoot that race. It looks good to shoot, looks challenging to shoot. It just looks like a fun one. And, I do want to see how the European street gravel. I'm very much in the Bonk Bros school of thought, as when the Euros come over here, they're going to get hot, they're going to get a flat, and they're going to quit. I want to see if that's what happens if Americans go over there, and I don't know if we'll ever truly see that just with how the GP plays out. A lot of people skip those races just to stay local.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Okay, last one. Who inspires you? Who gives you inspiration in what you're doing, maybe professionally or on the side with the hobbies, or where do you find your inspiration, man?
I'm a relationship former. Like, I like to try new things. A lot of inspiration comes from not necessarily people, but being bad at things. It kind of goes back to the running thing. I knew I'd be awful at it. I knew I would hate it, but it's kind of the inspiration of like learning something new at my age. I love, especially if it's something historically like I've tried maybe once and not been good at. Like,
sure.
So it's kind of any of those things. Like,
yeah.
On the photo side, it is, a new lens can be super inspiring to try and get some new shots. Like, I shot with a 20 mil lens a little bit this year, and like no one else is shooting that really. It's all 7200s. It's all long lens stuff for the vast majority of the day. That 20 mil, like, I had to be on the ground and having Cam Jones bunny hopping it, basically. Like,
yes.
And it provides different stuff. So I love a good challenge as inspiration. I've always been lucky in my career that I've been surrounded by super talented coworkers. At Speedvagen, it was the painters who could really, like, their ability to do whatever I could put on paper really opened up the boundaries of what we could create together. Similarly here, not to toot Josh's horn too much, but he is the smartest person I've met in real life, in the sense that, like, he's the guy that's going to break down the math of what the air conditioner at the velodrome does to the humidity in the air to affect how fast you can do any track race. It's like, I don't know how you get to that level of math or intelligence, but that's not me. So, to tie it kind of back to Silca, like having him being able to think through the product development with Travis, and then my job of that is to either one, make the products look fun, relatable, help them sell, and showing that data. Like, it just opens up my creativity, because like in that situation, I don't have to do the hard thing. They've done the hard thing. My job is just to make it look better, sound better, perform better, like just make it relatable. I think it all kind of comes back to that.
Fantastic.
I guess that kind of answers your question. I feel like I didn't answer a single one of your questions. I tangentially changed all of them.
That's okay. Sometimes that's what it's like hanging out with us for a day, is like we just talk kind of like in circles, but we don't ever really land on anything. But this has been amazing, Richard. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing things and getting the new year kicked off.
Yeah. When's this going to release? Am I going to be the first one in January?
You're going to be January 2nd. Yeah. So.
Holy smokes. Cool. No, thanks for having me. That's exciting. I feel like we should do some follow-ups probably later, just to see. I love inside baseball moments. I love the background stories that you never hear. This is why I'm notoriously a long captioner on Instagram is, the photo tells the story, but like what actually happens in that moment really helps to tell the story.
Yeah.
And that's what you miss from a lot of what, me, you, some of the other photographers are doing, is like, if it's just a race and it's just about speed, you don't get those background moments. And, I know me and you are going to like be at events and something's going to ruin the story we thought we had, and we're going to have to pivot. And I think those moments are going to be like the super interesting ones to see what gets created out of that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm right now in the planning stages of like how to better document what we're doing as BTS stuff, because I think it's really fascinating. Not because it's like my story, but just there's a lot of, I think about last year, Gravel Worlds, that mud section, and like the stuff that went on there and the stories that were happening within our crew of people as the race was like exploding with the racers. And that was really interesting. And even just being able to like put the video up of Roscoe finding out that the electric fence was on, like that's the biggest video I've ever put on Instagram. And it was like 7 seconds of him dancing around saying the fence is on. So I will be capturing more stuff. There will be more content for sure. People will see you more throughout the year. There's even a good chance that you end up in the podcast seat again during the year, because I think there's always stories to tell. So yeah, this has been awesome, man.
No, I appreciate it. Let's do it again. I'll be talking to you pretty much every week from here on out. So
thanks for hanging out with Richard and me today. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor and share it with someone you know, because sharing stories with other people is the best way to learn about the world and to be better at building community around us. And that's ultimately what we're all about here at the Stable Cyclist, is trying to create a better community, a place where you maybe can hear stories that relate to your own story in your own life, or better yet, better relate to those around you. I do hope you're having an amazing week. I do hope you find time to get out and move and exercise and enjoy being outside. But most of all, I hope that you remember that you are loved.